Good afternoon, everybody. This is Deborah Jones with the Blue Table Talk. I'm your host tonight, along with my co-host Toya. Toya,
Hello, how are you?
fine. How you doing, baby girl? And
I'm
then
doing
we have
great.
tonight we have Joe the Trahan, who's the chairperson for the Democratic office. So, hi, Joseph. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Glad to be
Good,
here.
good. Well, we're gonna talk to you in a few minutes, Joseph, and so we're gonna just do a little housekeeping for tonight. Of course, I'm always talking about COVID because it's still spreading, and I really thought that it had kind of died out for a little bit, but it's still spreading around. People get reaching COVID, getting COVID, and but you still have to take care of yourself because that's something that's not going away no time soon. So we have to, take care of ourselves, keep washing our hands, keep putting our mask on when we go to play. Even if you have the COVID and everything, you can't spread it. So just stay home. You need to stay home and take care of yourself so you won't spread it to others. And if you think that you have a sinus problem, please go to the doctor. Let the doctor check it out, or take a COVID test to see if it's negative or positive. And if it is negative, then you might not have it. But see, what I do, I still go out into the medical field to see whether or not I have it or not. So we're working with that right now tonight. Like I said, we have on with us Joe the Trahan. So he stepped away for a minute, so when he comes back, we can talk to him about everything. But hope everybody has been doing well and keeping themselves well. And we're gonna have a great time tonight. So don't forget to ask a lot of questions because we need to know what's going on in the community as far as with the Democrats. And so, and the person that could tell us that is Joseph. So when he comes back to the table, we're gonna go ahead and open it up. So let me silence my phone. He stepped away for a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to make sure I had my laptop charger.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm trying to silence my phone anyway, so I forgot to silence it. Anyway, so good afternoon, Joseph Trahan. Welcome to Blue Table Talk. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So I know there are a lot of people who know who Joe the Trahan is, but there's a lot of people who do not know who Joe the Trahan is. So let's do a little introduction, a little synopsis of who is Joseph Trahan.
All right. Well, I was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. Lived here most of my life. The only time that I left was to go off to the University of Texas at Austin, where I was gone for 4 years. And then upon graduating in 2018, I decided to move back, and I got involved with a local campaign, former Congressman Nick Lampson's county judge campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me the political bite I needed to stay engaged. And I immediately moved forward in participating in Democratic elections, of course, running for party chair in 2020, and then being elected to that countywide seat. I was 22 when I was elected. I was seated at 23, so I was the youngest party chair in the state and the youngest party chair in our county's history. Had a lot of great successes. Those during my first term, of course, a few months shy of completing my first term, I decided to resign to run for state representative because Joe Deschanel was retiring, and so of course going into a runoff and losing by 123 votes, and so that's the way sometimes politics goes. And then, of course, after that loss, I took a break, then came back to the Democratic Party to serve as a precinct chair under the leadership of former chair Ava Graves. And then I decided to file to run for party chair to have a second term, was unopposed, and here we are today. Of course, a little bit of background in terms of, you may not know me, but you know my family. Of course, on my father's side, my grandfather was Howard Trahan. My grandmother's Lois Trahan, very prominent in the community. He was on the school board for a number of years, very involved with the civil rights movement of the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, because Jefferson County and Beaumont in particular was always behind a number of other parts of the state and country when it came to issues of equality and equity. And then, of course, on my mother's side, Ed and Faye Woodsmall, they were both well-known police officers, longtime police officers. My grandfather was a captain of the Beaumont Police Department, did a number of great things for that area. And then my grandmother, Faye, was Beaumont's first female police officer back in 1976, first female detective and sergeant. And then, of course, she and two other men, including the former chief of the Beaumont Police Department, decided to create what is known as the first Special Victims Unit. You may know it as sex crimes for the entire region. We had a centralized location with the city of Beaumont, and to be a woman and to provide that presence to women who are victims of some of the most egregious crimes, I think really showcased the importance of women being in positions of authority, particularly law enforcement and investigations, because they are able to provide a level of empathy and approach that men just can't. And so having those two sets of grandparents in my life and the standard they set really catapulted me to the role that I have today. So I'm very grateful.
So I was going to ask you what enticed you to come into the office of being Democratic, or the candidacy of being of Democratic Party or whatever. Because
so two people were a driving force. Of course, I mentioned former Congressman Nick Lampson, as well as Carolyn Guidry. She's my political grandma, and at the time, she was our county clerk.
Right.
And so she and Nick Lampson both publicly endorsed me, and they really used a lot of their political capital to support me. And so I'm grateful to the both of them, but they both saw in me something that I didn't really take into consideration at the time, was running for office and serving in a leadership role and making a difference. And so because of their belief in me and many others that I haven't named, I'm here today.
Right, right. So you enjoy doing what you do?
Oh, I do. I love it. I am a political animal. I love strategy. I love looking at numbers. I enjoy supporting good candidates, raising money and giving a good fight against Republicans and anyone else that opposes our candidates. And it gives me purpose. It's really great to see people succeed and to be able to provide resources and tools for them to be effective office holders, effective candidates, and of course, providing hope and excitement for people that believe in the Democratic Party, or even people who are independents and Republicans that are just fed up with people like Donald Trump that are looking for something different.
You know, Texas is not a Democratic state. You know, it's more on the Republican side.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think we're more of a non-voting state than anything else. We have millions of people who are registered to vote that sit out every election cycle across the state. And since the 90s, statewide elections, especially for president, we've been closing the gap significantly. And President Biden lost Texas by, I think, 6 or 7 percentage points this last cycle. And that really is a strong showing, considering we're supposedly such a deeply red state. If that were the case, why aren't Republicans winning 2-1?
Right, right. But right now, I was watching the news earlier. They're getting ready to charge Trump again on the immunity that he's
Fine with me. Keep it going.
But it's so close to the election. I mean, I'm not understanding why you can have all these charges against you and still run for president.
Well, when you have a group of people that believe you are Christ reincarnate, that you can walk on water, that no matter what you do, he even said it years ago. Y'all remember famously, he could go on Fifth Avenue and shoot people on live TV and not lose a supporter. And it's true. It is true.
That is so true.
He's catapulted and propped up by people who believe he is the answer to all of America's problems. He even openly has made comments like, when I'm elected president, all the wars and conflicts that we have will end. Making ambiguous statements like that without any explanation for how you're going to do that. He acts as if people like President Putin and Kim Jong-un in North Korea are somehow going to stop their aggression when he's president. I think it's ridiculous. It's laughable, and it's a shame. But that's who you have at the top of the ticket for the Republican Party, a party that used to be revered among people that represented them, of course, like Lincoln. We had the Bushes. We had, even though I didn't agree with all of Ronald Reagan's positions, Ronald Reagan, John McCain, those days are long dead and gone. Yeah. It is now the party of Trump. And if any Republican dare speak out against him, they're primaried, they're voted out of office, they're vilified. Yeah. We saw that with Liz Cheney. We saw that with a number of Republicans that believed that he should have been impeached, that believed that there should have been an investigation with the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. So it's a cult. I don't know how else you can explain it when any voice that disagrees with the person at the top of the ticket is silenced. I mean, what else do you call it?
Yeah. It's something like what's the man's name who they dropped the Kool-Aid behind?
You talking about, was that
Jones.
Jamestown?
Jones. What's his name? Jim Jones? What's his Jim Jones
Yeah,
name?
Jones. Yeah, Jones.
Yeah, just like something like that, you know, just drink the Kool-Aid. He already told you to drink the Clorox, you're gonna be all right. So might as well drink it. So Democrats right now are fired up and ready to go. And fired up and ready. We have the Harris, we have the Wallace, and they're on the ticket. So what do you think about Harris and her new vice president that she's suggesting?
Well, they certainly managed to inject a great deal of excitement, not only among Democrats, but independents and disengaged Republicans. She represents what it is to achieve the American dream, growing up in a middle-class background, her parents divorcing, being raised by a single mother for a number of years, moving from one state to another, eventually going to Canada to go to school. She went to law school, got her education, made sure that she did what she could as a prosecutor. She was elected as a district attorney and then as an attorney general. And then she didn't stop there. She was elected a U.S. senator and then, of course, vice president of the United States. That's not easy. It's not easy to be elected to one of those positions, let alone all of those positions.
Right.
And so it speaks to her appeal, her qualifications, and the level of excitement she brings to any campaign she's associated with. Tim Walz, they call him America's coach, America's dad. He's somebody who's a small town, moderate Democrat who has been able to be elected to Congress and then the gubernatorial position in a state that doesn't always guaranteed to be blue or doesn't always have just only liberals, but also moderates and conservatives to contend with. And so for him to be able to exhibit that appeal, I think is very encouraging. And as a ticket, they bring both of those unique positions or values to the ticket. And I think that's going to help us down ballot because more than anything, of course, I want to see a President Harris elected, but I also want to make sure we have Sheriff Zena Stevens reelected, that we have Judge Naomi Doyle reelected, and that we have Sean Locke elected for tax assessor to replace the late Allison Getz.
Right. Because like I always tell everybody that our local elections is way greater than our national, you know.
Yep,
because we've got to get people in office who's going to do the job, you know. So yeah, Aaron, I'm looking at Aaron on which go. Hold on, let me say hello to the people. Aaron, hey, how's it going? I want everybody who's on here tonight to go ahead and hit the share button because we know that sharing is caring. Let everybody know that we have Joseph Trahan on. And so if there are any questions that you would like to pose to him, go ahead and put it in the comment section and I'll pose it right to him and he will answer it for you. So Toya, is there anything you want to say before we go on?
No, ma'am.
What? This is Toya's baby. Toya loves politics.
That's great. So, we need 10,000 more Toyas.
And I can't believe she's quiet tonight. Anyway, so your office not up for election or anything like that, right?
Correct. I'm not up for election.
Okay, good. Aaron said, "Oh, go ahead."
I just wanted to make sure for your viewers watching that they know that the last day to register to vote is October 7th. I wanted to get some dates out there. Okay. The deadline to submit a vote by mail application is Friday, October 25th. You have to mail your application to the Jefferson County Clerk's office. Of course, early voting begins Monday, October 21st and runs through Friday, November 1st. And then Election Day is November 5th, which is also which is what we're saying, which would actually is the deadline the ballot must be received by. But we want to make sure that people that are voting by mail are aware of some of the shenanigans and intimidation that are taking place at the very top with people like Governor Greg Abbott and our Attorney General Ken Paxton. Right, there have been some new laws that have been put in place, and I want to make sure that everyone watching that helps their family members get their applications to vote by mail and assist them with their ballot.
Right.
That they know that people cannot just go and assist somebody with filling out an application to vote by mail, or to assist them or even witness them filling out a ballot. There are very strict laws in place. As an individual, you cannot be listed as a witness or as an assistant on more than one ballot per election cycle. If you were listed on more than one ballot as a witness or as an assistant, because by law, if you're in the presence and you're assisting someone, you have to make it known on that ballot as the witness or the assistant, and attest with your signature, you will be filed on by the Attorney General. He has made clear that any violation of election code will be prosecuted. The only exception is if you are, say, Miss Deborah, let's say you were assisting your mother and father. You were in this scenario where you're helping your mother and father, you're younger, and you want to make sure that they are able to get their ballot. You can assist your mother and father, and that counts as two people that you're witnessing and assisting with, so long as you document the relationship. Are you a child? Are you a sibling? Are you a parent? Are you a grandchild? You have to have that documented. So they do have some allowances for close familial relationships. But here at the Jefferson County Democratic Party, when people request applications for mail ballots, we make clear we can provide them an application, but we cannot assist them in filling out the application. And so we want to make sure that that's publicly made known to protect people and to protect the party as well. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who live in nursing homes. If you have a family member who lives in a nursing home, the activities director cannot assist them in filling out a ballot on top of multiple other residents. That's a violation of the law. If you have a family member who lives in a nursing home or an assisted living facility or a senior facility, you need to make sure you get them an application, and that if they need help, you need to be there to assist them. Don't put the activities director in jeopardy or a member of a nursing home staff. You need to be there as the child or grandchild or niece or sibling to assist them. And we don't need to make any bones about that. It's very clear. And the Attorney General has made very clear that he's going to be watching like a hawk various elections across the state of Texas, most famously Harris County. But if we do the work we need to do in Jefferson County to turn out the vote, and we beat Trump and we have all of the Democrats elected, they're going to come after us because they're going to be upset. So we need to make sure we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted in this election. Finally, the Jefferson County Democratic Party headquarters, which I'm in my office now, is located at 2211 Calder in Beaumont. Again, that's 2211 Calder in Beaumont. We are open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so feel free to come by. We have Kamala Harris signs for a suggested donation of $5 as well. And they're going fast. We started with 750. We have less than 100 left. They were delivered yesterday. That gives you the context of the excitement. We will order more. And then we have some Xena signs and some Sean signs that you can get for free. Campaigns donate those, and we distribute them to the public.
Okay, so question. If I was to take my mother to vote, and she can't write, okay, and she needs to sign her name.
Mm-hmm.
Could I assist her in signing her name?
You can assist her. So, for example, if your mother has some sort of disability, but she wants to vote in person, every voting location is required by law to have a drive-through voting, a designated area for drive-through voting. You can then park in that area, get out of your car, go and let an election worker know, my mother's in the vehicle, she is elderly, I'm assisting her in this process. They will come out with a mobile device that can be used to input her selection. And you just need to let them know that you are there assisting your mother in this process.
But the question was, could I sign her name?
Well, I'm not sure.
Or help her sign her name.
Well, typically when they're voting in person, you're not signing your name.
Okay, no. They'll have you sign some at the bottom.
Okay, for the
mail-in ballot?
No.
You're talking about the mail-in?
And walk in. Walk in.
So you're talking about if she's going in and she doesn't have her ID?
Oh, she has her ID, but she needs to sign her name at the bottom. You have to sign your name at the bottom.
So, but she's not going in, correct?
Yeah, she's walking in.
Well, no, but I mean, it's going to be drive-through voting, but she's not physically going into the building.
Walking into the building.
Oh, well, if she's walking into the building and you're assisting
Right.
her, yes, you can assist someone with voting.
Right.
That's not a problem. You just have to inform the election worker that you are there with your mother and she needs assistance and you're her designee.
Right, right.
And they will give you the instruction.
I just want that to be known because I was a clerk, and I know you could do that, but I want the world, I want the Beaumont to know that.
Okay,
you
great.
Can go in.
Yes, you can go in. You can go in with the individual. You just have to make clear you're here assisting this, that you're their designee.
Because you're gonna also have to sign a notation saying that
you assisted.
Right.
Yes. Like, for example, I've known somebody who needed assistance who was blind. So they had an assistant with them and they had to go through that process with the election worker to let them know, I'm here with so-and-so. They are blind. I'm assisting them in this process.
Right.
So, but yeah. So to your point, yes, you can go in and you can have somebody go in with you if you need assistance. But of course, you have drive-through voting as well.
Right. You have drive-through. Right. They will walk out to the car and bring it to you. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And then also, say you have a student that can vote. They have their registration card, and they don't have a valid ID. They should be able to use their school ID. Correct?
Yeah, they can use their school ID.
Well, I know that, but you need to get it out there because this has happened several times at Rogers Park.
Right.
When they tell them that, because it happened to my daughter, that she had her registration card, but the lady said that it wasn't a valid ID, like a state ID, and they didn't allow her to vote.
Because the school ID has a picture on it.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying.
I'm just saying to put it out there. It has a picture on it. They wanted to make sure that's you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was her. And I did raise sand, but people need to know, don't give up. They need to. We ended up having to call someone who, they got it settled and got it straight, but they try to intimidate you and do things like that.
And just to give the viewers the IDs that can be used.
Okay.
It says here, if you possess one of the following forms of acceptable photo ID, you must present it when voting in person. A Texas driver's license.
Right.
A Texas election identification certificate issued by DPS.
Either or.
A Texas personal identification card issued by DPS. A Texas handgun license issued by DPS. A United States military identification card containing your photograph. A United States citizenship certificate containing your photograph. Or a United States passport. It can be in a book or on a card.
Right.
If you do not possess and cannot reasonably obtain one of these IDs, you can fill out a declaration at the polls describing a reasonable impediment to obtaining it and show a copy or original of one of the following supporting forms of ID. A government document that shows your name and an address, including your voter registration certificate, a current utility bill, a bank statement, a government check, a paycheck, or a certified domestic birth certificate, or a document confirming birth admissible in a court of law, which establishes your identity.
Right. So either one of those IDs you can bring in to vote. So.
But the best thing, if you do, the easiest thing in the world is if you can just use your driver's license.
Your driver's license.
It makes things so much simpler.
Right. That's a lot of people can't find their voter registration card. I'm for one.
Yeah, I can't tell you what mine is. I can't.
Yeah, I can't put my hands on it. So here's my driver's license, and let's go for it. Yeah.
So to be on the safe side, Joseph, they need to bring their birth certificate if it's a child with their school ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do that to be on the safe side. A birth certificate.
Okay,
with an official birth certificate, not something that's
a copy.
Copied off somewhere that you could have photoshopped and that kind of thing.
Are there places where a child who 18 years old, whomever that is ready legally to vote, a place where they can sign up to vote?
Yes. Well, there are a number of voter registration drives that area organizations host. You probably see them throughout social media. And then there are, it is law that schools are supposed to host voter registration drives on the premises for people
Right.
that are going to be turning 18 within a certain number of months before the election, or if they're already 18.
Like the bus, but yeah.
And
But what they can
I'm sorry.
also do is contact the Jefferson County Democratic Party headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Our phone number is 409-212-3366. Again, that's 409-212-3366. And we have copies of applications that they can pick up, fill out, and mail them. And it's already pre-postage.
And the schools in BISD, a couple of years ago, they allowed me to go into the history classes.
Mm-hmm.
And we spoke about voting. We just couldn't sway their vote, but they were able to register.
Yep. That shouldn't be a problem.
Yep.
409-212-3366. Is that what you said?
That's right.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna put it out there. And that's the Jefferson County
Democratic headquarters.
Democratic headquarters. Okay. You also have something coming up. The Democratic office headquarters have something coming up pretty soon. A gala.
Yes, we have our annual Blue Gala, United and Unified. It is sold out. So for those that waited too late, you should have paid attention to my Facebook post these last few weeks. We are proud to host a number of extraordinary people. Of course, our keynote speaker, the legendary Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Mm-hmm. She is the longest serving African-American woman in our nation's history in Congress. She is one of the highest ranking in terms of seniority. And so in Congress, the longer that you're in that position, the more privileged you are in terms of securing chairmanships, as well as ranking member status on key committees. She was also named Time Magazine's one of their 100 most influential people in 2018. So we're very excited to have her as a keynote. We also have State Representative James Tallarico as one of our two featured speakers, a rising star in the Texas politics. He's 35, one of the youngest legislators, if not the youngest, been a staunch advocate for expanding access to healthcare, pro-public education, and speaks out against Christian nationalism in this mutation that the Republican Party has taken on among Christianity in the way that they approach policy and the way they treat people. And then last but certainly not least, I confirmed yesterday our second featured speaker is Amanda Zurawski. She made national news whenever she became the first woman to sue a state post-Roe for abortion restrictions. She was 18 weeks pregnant. She wanted this child. Her and her husband had gone through fertility treatments to get pregnant. And then unfortunately at that 18-week, there was a membrane rupture and some other complications, and her pregnancy was non-viable. The fetus was actively dying in the womb and would not be able to survive if birthed. And so she had gone to the emergency room, and the doctors, out of concern for these new laws and these new restrictions, said, look, there's nothing that we can do. It's technically not at the point in which your life is at risk, even though they damn well knew that it was going to lead to that. So they washed their hands of it. She goes back home 3 days later. She goes into septic shock. She's rushed to the emergency room. She ends up going into the ICU. They end up moving forward with the abortion. And that's what they consider it when you're inducing at that stage. And she ended up in the ICU for over a week. Family were flown in to see her, to share their last words. They really thought she was going to die. Luckily, she was able to have a full recovery, with the exception of being able to carry another child. One of her fallopian tubes was permanently scarred and closed because they waited too long to address that non-viable pregnancy. And so she is a surrogate for the Harris campaign. She spoke at the DNC. She's talked at the state convention. She goes all around the country sharing her story and the story of so many other women who are the victims of draconian policy that is perpetuated by people like Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and reinforced by people like our Attorney General, Ken Paxton. And so it's going to be a great speaker list, people that are speaking to the very real consequences of Republican policy in the state. And also not just gloom and doom, but things to be excited about, things that Democrats have accomplished and seek to accomplish, and why we believe that we are the best direction forward to continue healing our nation post-COVID.
Wow.
We're expecting over 600 people.
Did she speak at the convention?
Congresswoman Waters did, as did Amanda Zarashi.
Yeah, I saw Waters. Yeah. I'm talking about the young lady who.
Yes, Amanda did.
Yeah. Because that story, I heard that story before. Yes. Wow. That's something.
Yep.
Wow. So what do you think about the upcoming debate? The Trump is trying to pull out of it. And
I'm excited. I look forward to it.
He's trying his best to pull out of it now.
He certainly is. He is. He's trying to make excuses, but I don't think he wants to look like too much of a fool, more than he already is. So he's going to have to stick with it. And if he thinks he's going to eviscerate her in a debate, let's see it. We want all the tens of millions of Americans to see it live, what he's going to do. I wanted to also add, in terms of a calendar of upcoming events, we are looking at having our campaign kickoff here at the Democratic headquarters Thursday, September 12th. Again, that's campaign kickoff for the general election, Thursday, September 12th at 6 p.m. We'll have some music. We'll have some light refreshments. We'll have campaign yard signs and push cards. We'll have our candidates present that are running for local office. And we just want to give people some excitement, something to go talk about, a way to come together, especially those that may not have been able to afford attending the Blue Gala or who missed out because we sold out.
Right. So tell me a little bit more about tell us a little bit more about the local elections. Who are we voting for? Who's on the ticket, and what's going on?
So of course we have at the top of the ticket Sheriff Zena Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
She has served 2 terms as our county sheriff. She is seeking a third. She was, of course, opposed in the primary, but she came out victorious. Moving forward to the general election, I can't even remember the man's name, but he's running against her. That goes to show you how formidable he is. And trying to unseat her. It's no surprise there. We have Judge Naomi Showers Doyle. She is our Democratic candidate and our incumbent seeking a second term. She had no opponent in the Democratic or primary or the Republican Party, but her former opponent, who I thought was a Democrat, decided to file as an independent to run against her, George Milhouse.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And so, with that, I'm supporting Naomi. I think it's good to have somebody that's consistent with their party affiliation and their values. And then last but certainly not least, we have Sean Locke, who's running for Jefferson County Tax Assessor Collector. I think that she is a phenomenal candidate. She's strong. She's a self-made business candidate. Mm-hmm. She's running against Kate Carroll, who is the daughter to the late Jack Brooks. Kate decided to switch to the Republican Party, which is very shocking when you read remarks made by her legendary father, who I did not have the good fortune to meet. Mm-hmm. He talked very pointedly about his disdain for the Republican Party, particularly the disparities between the rich and the poor, their tendency to disregard policies that benefit women, that benefit working class people, that benefit minorities. And so it's very surprising that she would choose to switch up on such a storied legacy to run as a Republican. And so we are supporting Sean Locke for that role. For those that may not be as familiar with the tax office, that was held by Allison Getz, who unfortunately succumbed to her battle with cancer, a very kind woman, somebody I looked up to, and I hate that it turned out this way. But that's the role that she's seeking to fill. So all 3 of those candidates have opponents. We need to get out the vote for them. It's great to put on your chucks and pearls and go out there for Kamala, but we got to keep going down the ballot and look for Zena. Look for Naomi. Look for Sean. Don't leave until you select their names. Otherwise, it's for nothing.
Right. And again, when is early voting?
Early voting begins Monday, October 21st, and it goes on through Friday, November 1st. So there is absolutely no excuse when somebody says, oh, I didn't have time. You have 2 weeks and a day, if you consider election day, to go vote. It takes 5 minutes or less. There are voting locations all across the county. You don't have to vote where you live. You can vote in Port Arthur. You can vote in Fannette. You can vote in Port Neches. Even if you live in Beaumont, you live near Johns, you can still go vote at Rogers if you want. It's your choice. There's no reason you shouldn't go vote. I don't understand it. It's amazing to me. When people say, oh, I didn't get to it, I don't even want you in my phone. I don't want you talking to me. I don't need you on my Facebook. Here you are liking every Democrat post, talking about how you don't like Trump, but that you can't go vote. Mm-hmm. And not only that, the people in their household need to hold their kids accountable. Right. It is ridiculous that you as a parent, this is the greater you, I'm not talking about anybody on here, right? But as the greater you, if you value politics, if you know all of the hard work that got to the point where you, whether it's as a person of color, as a woman, to vote, and you're voting, but your children aren't, but you're allowing them in your home, you're giving them money, sending them through Cash App, helping them out. The way my family is, if they found out I didn't vote, you wouldn't come in their house. Like tonight, I'm going to my grandmother Lois Trahan, Pumphrey now, to go eat dinner. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't let me eat at her table if she knew I didn't vote.
Yeah.
There are real consequences. Family, it's not an excuse. Oh, he's young. He's in his 20s. Oh, he's trying to figure. No, that is unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Yes.
So don't spoil these kids that aren't following in line with how you raised them, because they'll learn real quick. Well, this is important to my mother. This is important to my father. I need to do it. But we're not seeing that. And it's amazing to me. There's a lot of great people who are even our elders, like, Judge Paul Brown, and you have Alice Ramsey and so many other people who have been around a long time. Mm-hmm. People in that age group as grandparents, their grandchildren aren't voting. Their own children aren't. I'm not saying, no, not Alice Ramsey or them, but as an example,
right? These
people of this age group, their children and grandchildren, their line are not voting. And it's like, what's up with this? You need to hold some expectation. You certainly hold that expectation for them to go to church, mm-hmm. to read scripture, to be faithful in their marriage, to be upstanding citizens, to get a job, to pay their bills, whether they go to school or whether they do a technical program. But you're not going to have that same standard for voting. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. I'm a felon, and so I did a couple of crimes. Am I eligible to vote?
If you're off paper, if you've completed probation, you are legally entitled to register to vote, and you can vote. Just because you've made a mistake in your life, it doesn't sit with you all of your life in terms of a felony. If you complete probation, you've were paid anything that you owe to the courts, you've done your penance, you can register. So that's a misnomer. Oh, I was arrested 10 years ago, grand larceny. I was in jail for X amount of years. I've been out for, 10 years. I've been off paper. I still can't vote. That's not true.
Right.
And if you want to,
mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. Not only that, people have the misconception if you just go to jail for just anything that you cannot vote.
If you're found guilty of a misdemeanor, you can still vote.
Vote.
It's only a felony. And if you're incarcerated, but you have not been, let's say you're incarcerated, waiting on your trial, you're waiting on whatever it is, you can request a mail ballot and vote in the jail. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's something you need to get with the law library, because working at the prison, they didn't do that.
Well, they do it now. They just started this about a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because when I like I said, I worked as a clerk, and they had people come in that had been incarcerated, and then they thought they couldn't vote, but they could.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I were you, I would get with the wardens at the jails and see if you guys can get with the law library, because they can go around and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and another thing too, if you have been, what's the word I'm looking for? If you've been civilly committed into a mental health facility,
Mm-hmm.
and you can still request an application to vote by mail. And there's a lot of people that may experience suicidal ideation, severe depression, but they're not psychotic to the point of being so out of it that they can't make informed decisions like voting. I mean, there's certain thresholds there where you can still request an application to vote by mail in the psychiatric facility.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So you do vote by mail, not in person, right?
Correct, because you're committed.
Because you committed. Cool. Yeah, that's something they should know, because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that had they been in jail.
And you have some people who are dealing with drug addiction, alcohol. And the biggest issue now, fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah.
Narcotics, you name it. You can be in programs where you've signed yourself in and you're in there for 30 days. You can still request an application to vote by mail. Just because you're working on getting clean doesn't preclude you from exercising your right to vote.
And a lot of people sleep on the homeless population. A lot of them vote.
Yep.
Yes, they do.
A lot of them vote.
Yes, they do. Question: I live in Dallas, and I'm a student at Lamar University, but I want to vote. I'm not going all the way home to vote. Can I vote here in Beaumont?
One of two things. One, if you're already registered to vote in Dallas, you can technically vote, but you can only vote for the national and statewide elections here. The other option, you register to vote here, and you have the ability to not only vote for the national and state, but also the local races. We encourage people to register to vote here so we can get our down ballot support. But technically, you can be anywhere in the state as long as you're registered and go vote anywhere. You just have to let them know, hey, I'm not registered to vote in this county.
You just can't vote for local.
In this state, and you're entitled to vote for the national and state election.
Right. And not the local.
Right.
Yeah. And we've had that issue as well. People from the university coming over to vote and thinking that they couldn't vote, but they could. But the only thing about it was they had to vote at the county. They couldn't vote, in the local areas. They had to go to the county to vote.
Even for early voting?
Even for early voting.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because their names were down there and not in our registrar.
Oh, okay.
That was the only thing. Well, which was cool. You still can vote.
Yeah.
So now I know a lot of people weren't on earlier, and you spoke on the Blue Gala. And can you give us one more talk about Blue Gala?
So it is our annual event. It's our 2024 Blue Gala United and Unified. It is sold out. We are expecting over 600 people. We are very privileged to have a number of phenomenal speakers, including Congresswoman Maxine Waters as the keynote from Los Angeles, State Representative James Tallarico, who represents portions of Austin and Pflugerville in the state legislature, and Amanda Zarowski, who is a women's rights activist who rose to prominence after suing the state of Texas post-Roe for their restrictive abortion laws that nearly caused her to die during a complication with her 18-week pregnancy. And so all of them bring unique perspectives. They talk about the very real issues that affect everyday people across the state and the nation, but not just gloom and doom, but also exciting things to come, things that we as Democrats have accomplished. The sense of excitement and fresh air that we experienced from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And we also have, and I personally think he needs to do a far better job of campaigning, is Colin Allred, who's running for U.S. Senate. He's on the ticket. I hope his team has a grand master plan. But in terms of the sweat equity and time and visibility, it pales in comparison to what we saw with Beto. And if Beto came within 3 percentage points in 2018, putting in all that effort, you got to hold that and then do more. So he's not holding that. So I don't know what to expect from that.
Right.
He does not have my confidence.
Right.
But I'm voting for him.
Well, he got your vote. He got your vote, if anything. Let me ask you about poll watchers. How could we register to be a poll watcher?
Okay. Great question. Poll watchers are a volunteer position. In essence, you provide an extra set of eyes and ears at the various polling locations across the county, where you are monitoring the election workers, you're monitoring their interactions with the voters, you're monitoring the answers they provide to voter questions to see if they are in keeping with the law and policy. You are also keeping an eye on if you're assigned to certain areas, like the mail ballots, when they're going through the early voting ballot board or the signature verification committee, monitoring that to make sure that that's kosher. We are hosting a poll watcher informational session. Initially, we were going to do it tomorrow, which is Wednesday. We had to reschedule because Judith Lee, and I sent out an email to that. Judith Lee, who was going to be the main person, contracted COVID, tested positive, and so she's quarantining, and so we've rescheduled for Tuesday, September 3rd. Again, that's Tuesday, September 3rd at 2 p.m. at the Jefferson County Party Headquarters, 2211 Calder in Beaumont, and we will have that informational session. That informational session will provide you the opportunity to learn more about what a poll watcher is, what the requirements are, and the process for becoming one. We will then schedule at a later time another session at the headquarters where people can bring their laptops and tablets and be guided on how to go onto the Secretary of State website and input and go through the process of going through the certification, the training to become a poll watcher. And so we'll have that. The first one's the informational session to gauge interest and make sure people have a full understanding of what that role entails. Again, it's volunteer. We do not pay for that.
Right.
And then the following will be more hands-on, guide you through the process on the Secretary of State website, which does not become available till September 1st.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you'll give people the website address when they come to the meeting, or what?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was a poll watcher, I think when Carolyn was running for office, and so I was a poll watcher then, and we had to take a test. Did we take a test? Yeah, we took a test from the state of Texas or something like that.
Yeah, on their website, Secretary of State.
Right, Secretary of State website. So is that the same thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Aaron Johnson, hey Aaron, thank you for this question or statement. Colin is somewhat dry to me. Hopefully the down ballot from Harris will get him in. Oh, Colin. Oh, okay. Colin already. Is that who she talking about?
Yes, that's who I was talking about a moment ago. And I'm in agreement with her.
Right.
In fact, Erin, she helped us block walk this past weekend.
Right. She's
on lot, and so I'm grateful for her support. But we need more people like her to put on their walking shoes and go knock on doors and engage with voters, especially people who are registered to vote that haven't been showing up in elections. I hear a lot about the need for us to register voters. That's great, but we don't have a voter registration problem in Jefferson County. We have a voter turnout problem.
Right.
We got to get the people we have registered out to vote. It's not enough to simply register someone. You have to turn them out to the polls.
Right.
So that's going to require making phone calls. It's tedious work, but it's valuable work. Making phone calls, knocking on doors, raising money so we can get on TV, so that we can get mail outs sent out, so that we can get more paid walkers and callers to assist and supplement the volunteers who cannot commit as much time as someone who is compensated.
Right.
The Jefferson County Democratic Party is financed 100% by local donations. your donation that you give to Kamala Harris, your donation that you give to Colin Allred, or your donation that you give to the DNC, we don't see a dime of it. That's to help their national campaigns, and more than anything else, it goes to help them in battleground states.
Right.
Places like here at home, if you want your dollar to stay here, you need to make a contribution to the Jefferson County Democratic Party.
Yes, yes. Terry Preston Ross says, despite of the many efforts of Joe and others, why does Joe think the voting numbers remain low, and what kind of different things are they going to do to improve it?
I think a big thing that we need to shift from doing is solely focusing on usual. I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, I was thinking Terry.
Usual. We have to stop focusing on the usual suspects. I don't see why we need to exert a ton of resources and knocking on people like Terry's door to go out and vote when he votes in every election, from the municipal elections to the partisan primary elections to the general election. We don't need to waste resources on that. We need to start targeting infrequent voters, people who are registered to vote that have either never voted since being registered or who have been sporadic. Oh, I voted for Obama in 2008 and 2012, skipped out 2016. I voted in 2020, disappeared in 2022. We got to find these people in the cracks and deliver them. So that's what we need to do more of, is the infrequent voters. We need those new voters to come in to add to the usual suspects, like all of us on the call tonight.
Right.
It also means that we have to have more help to organize outside of just the general election cycle. It is like pulling teeth as chair of the Democratic Party, and I'm sure Joe Evans could say the same thing about the Republicans, to identify people that are willing to make calls, volunteer, donate, host events, and knock on doors months in advance of an election. That's the kind of organizing we need. But, you know, the work is plenty, but the workers are few. And so it's not enough, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, to put on your pearls and chucks and have a party. You have to turn that into action items, to things that you can execute. It's not enough to post on social media about local issues. And it's not enough to post on social media about how much you don't like the orange man or how much you don't like JD Vance. That's great when you're preaching to the choir. But when it comes to getting out the vote, you got to get outside of the digital space and put boots on the ground and own the ground. We have to own the ground. Right. And then where the donations come in handy is that we can not only own the ground, but own the airways, own radio, own TV, get the message pumping out there, getting our candidates' faces out there. Because I'll tell you, people that act like TV and radio don't matter, look at the national races. Look at the local race we had with Dade Phelan against Covey. The millions of dollars that was spent on TV. If it was not useful, they wouldn't spend it. Right. If it was not useful, Colin Allred would not be spending millions of dollars on TV. They wouldn't be spending millions of dollars on social media ads and on radio. It's a holistic approach, but it takes money. And I can't be the only one working to raise money. We need everybody to get out there and raise money, whether it's $10 or $10,000. Right. You got to do something. It's not enough to preach. You got to get out the church and try and make fishers of men. Okay.
Absolutely. Georgine Guillory says, Joseph is a hard worker for Jefferson County. He loves this process.
Well, that's great. That's great coming from Georgine, Commissioner Georgine Guillory / precinct chair / the top ticket seller for the Blue Gala. She got like 7 tables sold.
Okay.
And she got me some goodies from the DNC. So she's on my good list.
Yeah, that's my friend right there. Terry says, I know areas that many candidates don't touch for some reason.
I think part of that is some candidates don't know any better. Like, for example, municipal races, the party's not involved in helping individual municipal candidates. But even with the partisan races, when we have limited time and resources, a lot of us are forced to, we have 100 some odd precincts in Jefferson County. So we're forced on limited resources and manpower, as I mentioned, to have to figure out ways to divide and conquer as best we can. And that means that we have to prioritize what precincts we're going to hit based on what has the highest volume of registered voters and the highest propensity to turn out and vote for the candidates that we're seeking support for. If we have more man and woman power out there, we can hit more. But a lot of candidates don't have the resources to pay for robust campaigns like what you see at the national level, or like you see with more affluent areas like Austin and Houston, who have deeper pockets and people who are willing to give not just $10, but $500, $1,000, or $10,000. It makes a huge difference.
Right.
Money and available people.
Right. If you guys know anybody out there that needs to register to vote, I am a registrar, so I can sign you up to vote. And there are many of us out there, but we just need to reach the people. So we don't know who it is, but we need to reach the people. So, your child probably just turned 18 yesterday. They need to vote.
A lot of the people that I'm wanting to target are in their 30s and 40s.
Right.
That is a hugely disappointing turnout among that age group. Those are those people's kids and grandkids who were raised better. I know a lot of people, pastors of children that don't even go vote. Like, really?
But have you ever talked to these people to ask them why? Because a lot of people, number one, people that live on government assistance, they're already registered to vote. Talking to these people, they have lost hope in the parties because they only see them when it's campaign time. That's number one. And people my age and older who I speak with, they get tired of people getting in office and they don't see them anymore, or they're switching up, or they're being snooty and snobby. So I'm just telling you, from other people.
Right. And I hear that, and I've heard that from many people. What I would say, and whenever we're trying to talk to them, you mentioned people on government assistance. You have to remind them that it's Democrats and Democrat policies that enable them to have a roof over their head, food in their belly, and the ability to pay their bills, the ability to have Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security and housing. We have to remind them that it's Democrats that are advocating for an increase to the minimum wage. All of those things are relevant to those people. They're saying, I haven't seen Democrats do anything. Well, they're living it. They're benefiting from the policies because Republicans are trying to further cut people on Social Security, disability. They're trying to cut your food benefits. They're trying to cut the vouchers that you get for housing. There's a lot going on. And I feel like people get so accustomed to the privileges that they receive from the government, and they don't realize who is actually advocating for them to have those, because those are privileges. Those are not entitlements. Things like housing and food. It's just the way you may think it is, but it's, they may think it is, but it's not. It's not a guaranteed right. And as far as, people getting elected and then disappearing, I feel that because I feel that among some of the locally elected Democrats in my party that are incumbents, that have been in seats for many years, that I hardly see, that I often wonder, where are they? Why am I not seeing their checks come across our party table more often to support other candidates? Why I don't see them physically present more often? But what I look at, and that's hopeful, is that on the flip side, we have a number of office holders who are visible and relevant, like our Sheriff, Zena Stevens, people like Sean Locke, who's been in the community way before she ever had aspirations to run for office, helping people qualify for down payment assistance and get their dream home, helping people nurture their business career. I look at people like Naomi Doyle, who has been active and visible, hosting community-wide events quarterly to go pick up, beautify the community. She has her judicial classes where she has prominent members of the community that are going and speaking to students in her courtroom about relevant topics. And so we have some good candidates on this slate that I think have shown that they're consistent, they're visible, they're in touch with the community. And those are the type of people that we need to elect and then keep in office. And the people that are just there for the paycheck, we need to get them out. And I say that as a Democratic chair, because we need to change some incumbencies.
So we're speaking of in our local elections, we're speaking of Zena Stevens for sheriff. Naomi Dahl for county
Justice of the Peace.
Justice of Peace. And also for Sean Webb Locke for tax assessor. Right? Y'all hear those names. Okay. So, like we say all the time, our local election is way bigger. We have to live with these people. So we need to, they're in our community, so we need to vote here and then speak of, the national. I mean, national is important. Don't get me wrong. National is important, but your local is more important.
Yes, local, national impacts a lot of like policy, a lot of foreign relations, things of that nature. Local and impacts how your property taxes are spent,
Right.
how those service-based offices operate, like the county clerk's office, the tax assessor's office, the judicial seats, the county jail. So yeah, it definitely impacts us a lot more. I see Terry Roy talking about 30 to 40-year-olds that are in apartments. Yes. And one of the issues too, and it has to be done every year, a lot of those people are transient. And so they're living in apartments one year, and we experienced this last weekend. I was walking with some people. We went to 2 different apartment complexes, and none of the people that were on the list even still live there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who live in apartments are not necessarily the most stable in terms of being there long term. Mm-hmm. So to Terry's point, we need to have people assist us in targeting apartments, registering voters, because 9 times out of 10, the voter who's on the registration list, that you go to that door, they are no longer there.
Mm-hmm. So how could you reach out to them? How could you find them? How could you, locate them?
Going back to basics, door to door. Mm-hmm. Hello, I'm so-and-so. I'm here as a voter registrar. Would you like to register to vote? Mm-hmm. Door to door. And that's what it takes. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes sweat equity. And a lot of people aren't willing to do it. And that's why we're in the situations that we're in at the national level. People are not willing to put in work for their own nation, their own state, their own county, their own city, their own neighborhood. They're just not willing. They talk a lot. I have a lot of people who talk great game. Mm-hmm. But when it comes time to deliver, they're nowhere to be found. And I'm pretty blunt about it, because I'm doing this for free. Mm-hmm. I've never been compensated for either times I was chair. I wasn't compensated to run for state rep and narrowly lost. Mm-hmm. This is a labor of love, just like it's a labor of love for you, the both of you, mm-hmm. and others doing this because you want to see and affect change. And so I don't have very much tolerance for people that know better. Keyword know better. There's people out there that don't.
Know better, you do better.
You got to educate them. But there are a lot of people that know better. Mm-hmm. They just choose not to do better.
That's right. That's right. Well, Joe, the clock on the wall says it's time for us to get out of here, and I wish we had more time, because this is a very interesting conversation, and I wish you could come back on before the election.
Absolutely.
And talk to our public and let them know how serious voting is. I mean, this is a serious thing, guys. You getting ready to vote for the president of the United States. And now you're getting ready to vote for your local government. So we've got to get out there. We got to put our shoes on. We got to wash our hands. We got to get dirty. We got to do what we got to do. Like Michelle Obama said, we got to do something. And let's do it by going out there, getting these people and getting them to vote. Like I said, 30 through 40, that age group. And I'm saying younger, that age group. Whatever age group it is, they need to vote. They need to get out there.
100%. 100%. And remember that when you go vote, October 21st through November 1st is early vote. Election mm-hmm. day is November 5th. Mm-hmm. Don't stop at the top. Vote mm-hmm. for every Democrat. Vote for Zena Stevens. And I'm in ballot order. It's actually Zena Stevens, then Sean Locke, then mm-hmm. Naomi Doyle. Because mm-hmm. Zena and Sean are countywide, and Naomi is a judicial seat that is based in a certain portion of Beaumont.
Right.
A portion of Jefferson, Beaumont, I believe, but Jefferson County, if not.
All right. Georgine said, please early vote. I agree, because you know what, y'all, when those lines get long on the day of election, but they have to assist you. They have to say, okay, how long those lines, they have to assist you.
Well, and tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how young or old you are. I could go in, say, you know what, it's our first day to early vote. I'm going to go the next day. I could drop dead. Get it mm-hmm. done while you're still living.
Are you still
Don't
living?
Miss out on your vote counting.
Right. That's your voice. That's your voice. You know, we speak a lot of things, but that voting speaks louder than anything. So
it does.
Thank you so much, Joseph Trahan, for coming on tonight to the Blue Table Talk. We both Toya and I appreciate you. And like I said, you're gonna have to come back on again so you can, speak the word, speak out, let people know about voting. And we have to get our local people on here as well. So thank you guys for joining in tonight with Blue Table Talk. And if you know anybody who need to register to vote, I'm your girl. I'll come wherever they are, or I'll meet you at the church, or I'll meet you in the school system. Let me know, and I'll go there and register to vote because this is very important.
And if we got to send people to the club, we will too.
We go to the club. Tori, you have anything to say before we get out of here?
No, ma'am.
I just love that girl.
I love you more.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming to Blue Table Talk. We appreciate you. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Smooches.